You don't move to Cabo, Cabo moves you. And today we're sitting down with someone who just didn't come to visit, but he chose to stay. Welcome and thank you very much, Nick Fong, for being here with us.
My pleasure, Bego.
We're here sitting down in a penthouse in Medano, which has 3 bedrooms and 4.5 baths. So what do you think so far of this condo, Nick?
It's actually my first time in this unit, but I remember when it was first built 15 plus years ago, and it's incredible. The remodel is like I could live here. And Erica actually said, "Do you want to move?" And I was like, well, this is actually the view, the proximity to everything, the beach, the marina, the restaurants, the nightlife, and you're in your own oasis here, so it's phenomenal. And the remodel is spectacular.
It's absolutely beautiful. We're sitting down not just with Nick Fong, but we're here with Tonalli, which is a hairless Mexican dog. This is a Xoloitzcuintle. In Mesoamerican culture, basically, they believe that you have to be good with them in life, so they will help you cross the river of the dead, the Mictlan. Tonalli is just the perfect companion for us to be here talking about roots, about choices, and what we are going to be building. So this is not just a real estate podcast, but about transformation. So shall we begin?
Yeah, let's begin.
Okay, perfect. So Nick, who was Nick before Cabo?
So that would go back more than 20 years ago. 25 years ago was my first trip here on spring break, a vacation. And I was in my mid-20s. I was professionally working in corporate America. I was doing IT consulting, and I was traveling around in North America to client sites, and I did that for 5 years. And so before, that's what I was doing. When I first came here, I was still doing that. And then a couple years later, I transitioned into real estate back in Chicago, where I'm from.
So what made you come here to Mexico? What got your attention about our culture that you said, oh, Mexico is a good place to go there?
It was really by accident. It was friends of mine that were studying their MBA, and they were on spring break, and they invited me to join them. It was 12 guys that rented 2 houses here in the Pedregal, and I only had been to Mexico one other time. Back in the early 80s, when I was a young kid, with my parents in Puerto Vallarta. I didn't even know where Cabo was.
Where is your culture from?
Chinese.
Okay, so you have a mix of Chinese and also American.
Well, actually 100% Chinese.
Okay.
So I am 3rd generation. My mom and dad 100% Chinese, but I don't speak Chinese.
Okay, but you speak Mexican. I mean, Spanish. You speak Spanish.
I do speak Spanish, yes.
How would you say the Mexican culture shaped you when you came here to Los Cabos? Because you didn't just come to visit, you have a wife here, you have your kids here. So I'm just really curious to know, what is that Mexican part of the culture that got you in here?
Well, it was first my wife, Rocío. And so it was romance. And it was also a big part of who she is a result of the Mexican culture, right? And so she being Mexican, born and raised in Mexico City, the culture is so warm and inviting, and it centers around a lot of social activities, the food, the celebration. I think there's a lot more national holidays in Mexico than in the US. It seems like my kids are always on some kind of holiday from school. And so that's what really drew me in, was romance at first, and then with Rocío, but then a romance with the country and the culture. The truth be told, when we first started dating, I had asked Rocío, if we get married, will you move to Chicago? Because I already had my real estate business at that point. And she said yes, but she was lying to me. Oh. And so when we decided that we were going to get married, we bought a house here in Cabo together, and the idea was to have a house to come to during the winters. but that changed. My first winter here, then my second winter, I was like, we got this backwards. We need to live in Cabo, and then we can visit the cold weather in Chicago.
Well, that sounds like a very good plan.
Yeah.
And how did you get to meet Rocío? How was that love story?
Well, I thought it was unique until I met other people here that the same path that they followed. It was at the nightclubs.
Okay, but how was it then?
So
Where
back
with your
then,
friends?
yeah. So we started probably at 10 at night at Cabo Wabo, and we locked eyes and saw each other for the first time, but I didn't have the courage to go up to her. But at the end of the night, around 2 in the morning, we ended at a nightclub that no longer exists. It's actually a souvenir shop in Plaza Bonita.
Yes,
right?
I know that place. Yes.
So that used to be a nightclub, I think it was called Wave. And this is back in 2001. And that's where I had the courage to go up to her, introduce myself. The next night we went on our first date, and that's history.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, we got married in 2006.
Well, in what point did you choose that you wanted to have your kids here in Mexico? Because you were coming back and forward, right?
Well, when we got married, even before we got married, I moved here. So I still had my business in residence in Chicago, and we went back maybe twice a year. But it was soon after I moved here that I started getting into real estate. And real estate at that time was going through a boom and then a bust. So when that boom was happening, 2005, 2006, 2007, that's when I was first getting started. And it just made more sense to be here with the weather, the people. Rocío was already established. We had bought our first house together, and this place really grabs you. I'm not the only one, obviously. Millions of people come here every year, but back then, and even to this day, I hear it from friends, family, clients, that you feel different when you land in Cabo.
This place is not for everybody. I mean, for example, my father came here and he thought it was not for him because he was like, oh, it's the desert, there's a little bit of dust. But then he saw the condos, he saw the structure that there is, the development, and he's like, this grow up so fast. So how would you say is that change from where you were working real estate in Chicago and then when you came here to Los Cabos? How is that boom that you're talking about?
Yeah, so any big city like Chicago, it could be in Mexico, in the US, or in Canada, you get lost. You know, millions of people, and you're just one person getting started in an industry where it's like, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you make an impact? And I was 20 years ago fortunate that the market was so much smaller. Cabo was so much smaller. So with a lot of hard work and determination, you can make a big impact on a small place that has grown so much over the last 20 years.
Well, yeah, because you came here and you got married with a Mexican woman, you had Mexican children, and now you have a Mexican corporation, and which is incredibly successful since 2010.
That's
so,
right.
I mean, there's a lot of things that made you fall in love with Mexico. So what would you say the food, about the culture and the food, was the first thing that you tried here, that you will recommend to someone that just came to visit Los Cabos and want to hear from Nick Fong, this is the really good place to have?
Well, it's funny because I was just telling my son this past weekend that my favorite restaurant or cuisine as a kid was Mexican food. So much so that on my birthday, we always got to choose to go to a restaurant, the family. Okay. And it was always a Mexican restaurant that I would go to. So I think from the very beginning, as a child, it was destined to be living in Mexico. And I have come, you know, there's so many, I thought all Latin countries, the food was as good as Mexico, but it's not.
It's not.
And Mexico is by far like the best cuisine in all of Latin America and one of the best in all the world. You know, when you look at the major cuisines, Chinese food, Italian, and then there's Mexican food. And so I think it's all the spices. I think it is the history of the settlers, the people that came to discover Mexico, the Spaniards, the French, the mixture of everything, the indigenous natives. And so that's like the food, but then culturally speaking, I think for Latin America, Mexico is so important from a commerce perspective, cultural, and just geographically, being the partner or the neighbor to the United States, it has great advantages.
Well, that's something about Mexico, right? That there's but here in Cabo, there's some mix of cultures. It's not just Mexican or American, or there's many different kind of people that just come here, and they decided to leave everything that they knew and just build a new life, get a lot or get a house or a home. So that's when Cabo started growing up. So now making an investment here is going to grow up. What will be your recommendation for people that actually have that love for Mexico and that attraction that maybe you had back then, but they have that fear of leaving everything they know and coming to a new place and maybe making a new life like you did?
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
Exactly.
Obviously, you are risking a lot, but one of the things with doing it, you don't have to go head first. You could dip your toes in the water, so to speak. You can rent a place, you can take a 2-3 week vacation, turn it into spending 2 or 3 months during the winter months. Especially a lot of our clients, especially this time of year, it's cold, it's snowing. It's a great place to come during those winters. In fact, that's what I did. And then you start realizing, could I live here? Or maybe no. And so it's not as dramatic of a change. And certainly that's how I transitioned down here.
Right, because you have direct flights from United States coming to Los Cabos and the other way around. Right. So it's not that big of a life change as it will be from in other places in Mexico.
Yep. San Diego, Los Angeles, Dallas, Houston, Las Vegas, Chicago, some flights are just 2 hours direct flights every single day from the States.
Yeah, we were talking about the other day with Javier Madero how easy it is for foreigners to own a property here through fideicomisos, etc. And honestly, I believe that people who are interested in coming here should follow your advice and maybe just, if they're thinking about investing or just putting their money somewhere, I know condos in San Jose del Cabo that are under $199,000 as a first property investment, or different kind of properties that you could just leave the money there and it will get rented. Because Cabo is a place that always comes with tourism and people. Yeah,
I mean, we have millions of people every year that come to this destination. A lot of them are repeat travelers, but a lot of new people that haven't been to Cabo just like me 25 years ago. And that's the beautiful thing, is that there's always new people, and it's always great to see the people that have been coming here for 30, 40 years. I ran into an American yesterday at the chiropractor, and he said his first trip here was in 1986.
Exactly.
So imagine that, 40 years ago was his very first trip here.
1986, 1 year
86.
After, 86, wow, that's a lot.
So that's before you were even born.
Yeah, that's sure, 10 years before I was.
Yeah.
So there are different Cabo has been growing up so much that now in Cabo San Lucas we also have the Bees event, which is in October. We have the whales coming mainly in February. Then we got also the fishing tournament that goes in the Pacific Ocean side by Agua Blanca and Todos Santos in different dates. We also have all of these chefs and all of these different kind of events that we have in Cabo every year, and they are increasing because more people are coming to visit here. For me, it is really interesting to hear your story and to be here sitting down with you. For people who are actually thinking about coming to Los Cabos and maybe get to live a little bit of this life and get to know Cabo before it grows up even more, right?
Yeah. No, and now Cabo isn't speculative. It's a proven place. It has great people, great opportunities, whether it's real estate or professionally for work. A lot of people still in their working ages are relocating here with their families as an alternative to living somewhere in the States, Canada, or other parts of Mexico.
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Nick, for being here with us. It was very special, and I'm very honored that you gave us the opportunity to hear your story and to be part of your journey. And thank you, Tonalli, for showing us the roots of Mexico and Mexican culture. And if you would like to, we can tour this amazing property, which is really worth to see.
Let's go.
Okay, let's go.